very much. You know, when J.F. Kennedy said that our progress as a nation can never be swifter than our progress in education, he actually thought about it before saying that. A paper was released by Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. That should be a speech. Remember, July 2012 is 8 years from now. In her keynote speech, she made sure she agitated for everything you have said. But I'm looking at it, 8 years down the line, nothing has been done. What do we do? Let's even problem with our public education or even our educational system. It's the framework for which it was formed is not clearly stated. In 1999 Constitution, education appears on the concurrent list, not on the exclusive list. It appeared on the concurrent list. What does that mean? It means that various tiers of government are coming out to do what they like. It's actually ambiguous for us. It's actually ambiguous for us because we do not know who is taking charge for what. I don't know whether the federal government is the one taking charge of university. Is the federal government taking charge of secondary school, or are they taking charge of state schools? What are they in charge of? And what is the state school? Who is taking charge of the public secondary school, the public primary school? So for education appearing in concurrent lists is a problem already. Is a problem on its own. I give you a typical example why this thing is a problem. In this pandemic, the Minister of Education went ahead to say, oh, if you have children, if you can afford it, if you can do it, especially that is not Nigeria, please carry on with your third term online. Make sure the children are not losing anything. The Minister of Education in Lagos State said, oh, run enrichment program. Don't do the third term school program and everything. What do we do? What do you want the school to do? You don't know whether it is the Minister of Education you should go with. You don't know whether River State now made a publication that you're running an online lesson, you're running it on your own. You don't need to collect money, you don't need, and so many of them closed school and went sleeping. For the past how many months of this pandemic, the children are not doing anything. Then you come up to tell us, oh, for the public school, we are running a program in LTV. I went to check the program they are running in LTV. You're telling schools to run enrichment program, you're running your curriculum in LTV. Then I asked a question in a Zoom meeting. How many of these children, they have lights in their houses? How many of them can watch the program you're running on LTV? And I remember the Commissioner of Education in Lagos State said they are trying to get transistor radios that they are going to share individually to this. And this meeting held some months ago. I'm yet to see transistor radios. And if they have gotten one, I don't know how many people, because I talk to people every day and I ask. So there is a problem listing education in the concurrent list, number one. So what is the way forward? We need a regulatory body, that will be highly effective. UBEC funding, all those things, it has not helped Nigeria. Look at people that have passion about this. It's not about political parties, but because When APC in power, everybody working under them will be APC. Education should look for people that understand the heart cry. Regulatory system. The money you use in buying transistor radio, which from what Mrs. Adefisayo said is 12,000 for one. You can get a tablet. You determine the curriculum you want to run. There are some private schools in this nation that does not have any foundation of what is going on in Nigeria. Rather than teach King Jaja of Okobo, we are learning Henry VIII. That's what we are learning Queen Elizabeth. That's what we are learning. How does that transcend to us? What would that do to our economy? That is the problem, because there is no regulatory body. Remember that international mindedness has a cultural backing. You cannot say you are internationally minded in a society without first of all having the underlying problem of that society. The cultural background of any society is pivotal to international mindedness. So if we don't have a good regulatory body that will look at the NECO and WAEC, why are we writing SSCE and NECO? Why? Why are we duplicating this body? Duplicating this body, there is a problem, because the duplication, rather than trying to standardize this body, we are trying to find more bodies that will help. Policies everywhere. No, let the federal government and authority, let them exercise a legislative power here and not allow education in the concurrent list. The second thing is the death of qualified teachers. This is terrible. You know why it is terrible? Is that when our children makes first class, who allows that person to become a teacher? If my child graduates as a first class material in any university, who wants that child to be a teacher? Nobody. Let me tell you what the JAMB system has done. When you're rejected from other departments, if you feel economics and economics is 270, if you feel international relation and it is 280, if you feel medicine and it's 300, and you happen to score 230, 220, when they reject people in all these departments, where would they go to? They pack them where? To education. That's where they go to. So when you get to education, the cutoff there become ones where people that do not have them, that is the beliefs are passing the knowledge, are the people that graduated with pass in the university. They are the ones that graduated with third class in the university. Those are the people passing. The people that made the first class will definitely go to Chevron, they will go to Shell, they want to work in international organization. They don't want to teach. Why? Because of the system we have found ourselves. Pay teachers equivalent of their counterparts and let people that have the ability come into the profession. If you're somebody in an international organization of their equivalent, pay them. That is the only way you will get first class material coming to those kind of people. I told you of the statistics that happened in Kwara State. The statistics out of it, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala read that thing in that Kwara State finding, only 75. In 2016, David Ajikobi did a research. The research he carried out was he wanted to know the progress of that, the outcome of the Malala visit. What have we done after she has done that and everything? And when David did this research, he found out that about 26.2 million children were only. What happened to the 10 million that dropped out before they completed primary school? That's number one. He went ahead to check the ones that went to secondary school. Out of these 16 million, only 49% of them. It means that there is a fundamental problem. One is we are not even taking the primary education seriously. If we are not taking it seriously, how do you expect the children to further? That's even number one. Then you are now looking at taking it. I remember when President Buhari entered in 2014, one of his campaign strategy was that he's going to raise this index that David Ajakobi said, that he's going to raise it to 75%. You and I know, I can emphatically tell you that rather than going to 75%, we have decreased to 49%. By 20, we decreased to 49% of children that were in school. I give you another thing. Another strategy at 2016, 1.5 million teachers in a public and private school in Nigeria, according to Federal Ministry of Education, that we had 596 teachers in primary school. We had 292 and 80 in junior secondary, and we had 398,000 in senior secondary. With this in mind, checking that we have 26.2 million children in primary school, what is the teacher ratio? If you're having 700, it means that you have 1 to 50 averagely. And world standard everywhere recognized not more than 1 teacher to 25. That is world standard. Not more than, it could be less, but not more than 1 teacher to 25. Nigeria said that we cannot, the national standard said we can't do 1 to 25, but we can do 1 to 35. But we have never done something very important I want us to look at. Another person did a research which interested me. It was a matter of interest. It was in Kwara State. He did a research for teachers, research in Kwara State. Something very funny happened. What is that thing that happened? It shows that out of 19,000 teachers that were used for this particular survey, only 75% of them were competent to be teachers. I didn't say 75%, 75 teachers out of 19,000 were competent. 75. What is the ratio of 75 to 19,000? Others, qualification not inclusive, because in Nigerian law, once you have NCE, you have a background of teaching and you're qualified, you're called a qualified teacher. So, but when you look at it critically well, this survey captured both graduate and NCE. And in 19,000 teachers in Kwara State, only 75 of them were competent. We are nowhere at all. They could not teach basic literacy or numeracy to 5 to 10-year-olds. But they could not. And this was, if you check it, the buffer with in Kaduna State when Governor El-Rufai said 22,000 were unqualified. I don't know whether you remember a video that went viral during Governor Oshimole's regime, where a school teacher was interviewed and she couldn't make a simple, correct sentence. And this teacher has been teaching years, and she couldn't make a simple sentence. So this is where we are. Leakages of exam papers, invigilators collecting money, teachers solving the questions on the board during WAEC for children to write. What is the solution? Stipulate a steep penalty. Let's stipulate a steep penalty. We cannot continue. Look at what happened in the past few weeks. Rape, rape, rape everywhere. Now, if rape becomes a death sentence, how many people do you think will be involved in it any longer? How many? If we decide that exam malpractice, we have strict laws and steep penalty, I will tell you, people availability of educational resources and government commitment. Busayo said something. It was UNESCO that recommended that 15 to 20% of spending of any budget should be on education in every developing country. But up until date, we have not done more than 8% in Nigeria. But however, let's even take a deeper dive. It's not even increasing the fund that is the major issue. The 8% that was allocated, how was it used? What was it used for? Who can say that this is exactly what the money has been used for? If you get to so many schools, I was discussing with you. One is in a private school. The graduating set of SS3, they are less than 100 in the whole arm. And one of my daughters that went to Queen's College said, oh, during my graduation, we were 535. How many teachers taught a graduating set 535? It means they were 190 something in a class. What kind of learning will happen? Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is doing anything. It's not just the funding. Good management. Who asks questions? What have you done with this money that is allocated? What have you done with this school? How did you pay? If you do not pay a teacher for 1 year, what do you expect from that teacher? How will the person work? Remember, it is a collective responsibility. Because just like Busayo said, those children will come back to our children after we must have educated our children. We are sending them abroad, yes. Whose culture would they thrive on? Who and who will do it in Nigeria? We need to re-strategize seriously. We need to carry, the death of Lloyd is making a wave and is changing. We need to do that for our educational system. We need to cry out. We need to cry out. I remember a branch of Redeemed Church, TOD to be specified, built a new school and donated to the government. Before that school was finished, I will tell you how many children that are on the line to register. There are not even schools. The ones built, there are no infrastructure. It's a heart cry. When you look at it, you're almost at the verge of collapsing. Finally, it is a collective effort. It is for the teachers, it is for the pupils, it is for philanthropists, industrialists, government. We, all of us are in it. We need to start talking. We need to start speaking out. We need to cry out. Our children are suffering. Our children are suffering. What can we do? It is not time because you think we can afford it. Let's just go to government school. Let's just go to private school and neglect the government school. How many of those children are learning in this pandemic? How many of those children will continue school after the pandemic? It is a hard cry. If school says, if government says school is for free, school should be meant for free. Thank you. Let's take your reactions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Busayo and Madam Juliet. I think the both of you have said pretty much everything that is going on within the system. I'm currently not in the country, but talking about people who who groan in anguish every day concerning things that are not working well in that country, I think I might as well count myself as one of them. The most painful thing in all of this is that so many people in this our country, so many people know what is wrong. We talk about these things. We are not short of ideas. But the problem, which is looking so mystical, is the fact that there is no action. It begins to look as if there are some powers that are beyond human control in the country that is kind of pulling us down. It's I don't know, you said it all, like I said, like it's so painful right from the primary school, and the thing is that it's even deteriorating every day. And if I may pick from one or 2 points, suppose something will happen positively. You mentioned the issue of regulatory bodies. I think this aspect is very key now. This aspect is very key. Where I find myself here, I'm actually in Asia, India to be precise. I noticed one thing within this pandemic period. To a large extent, most institutions here have resorted to online mode of teaching. My school, to be specific, I'm actually a student here for my master's program. Most universities here have resorted to online teaching, and for my school in particular, it has been very, very effective. And of course, the kind of infrastructure they have here is so much in place that it can support all of this. Electricity is far. I mean, the gap between electricity, what we have here and over there in Nigeria is far. Sorry for drawing this line of comparison, but somehow it will help us to actually see why some of these recommendations will be in line. The regulatory authority that you have here is so keen with these institutions. Like, they see it as, I don't know, you know how frequently we chat on WhatsApp, you know, that kind of very close marking that we give ourselves on WhatsApp when we chat, that is the kind of close marking they give regulatory authority here. In Nigeria, you hardly hear of anything from NUC except when you are beginning to hear about strike, or you are beginning to hear about funding or whatever, or some universities, like what happened recently in Unilag concerning convocation and blah, blah, blah. You don't hear NUC giving institutions, universities giving them close marking in terms of regulations, in terms of standards. I mean, that you don't see that. Here we receive almost, there is no week we don't receive mails that has to do with authorities, coordinating authorities in the country. And that is how that mail trickles down to every student within the country. Hundreds of millions of students. Now, when you have this kind of institution in place, the standard of education to an extent, of course, they still classify this part of the world as a developing country. But when you look at population-wise, the standard of their education vis-a-vis their population far outweighs what we are experiencing in Nigeria. So that aspect of regulatory authority is very, very, very critical. The second point, which I believe must have been mentioned also by the speakers, is that willingness. That willingness from governance. That willingness is not there. Until now, we are still playing politics of money. As a country, our leaders, I must say, painfully, they are not thinking about the future of the country. They are not. Because if they are thinking about the future of the country, coming back for second time will not even be something they will think of. You will hear people telling you that if I don't do what I should do, don't vote for me. But you come in the first tenure, you do whatever you want to do. By the second tenure, you are beginning to plan about your second term, and then you do whatever it is that you can do so that people would vote for you for the second term. And then after the second term, you go and sit down. You go back to status quo. Nothing is changing. I mean, that is the painful part of it. Nothing is changing. Nothing is changing. And then the third point I want to make is that it appears that nobody is really ready for change. We know we need change. We know that there is an emergency in the system. But we are a set of people, Nigerians are a set of people that we have been through pain so much that we have become used to pain. Like, pain is now part of us. We have been through suffering so much that suffering has now become part of us. I give a typical example. You notice that when the Abuja bombing happened then, being the first incidence of Boko Haram, I think it was in Yanya or something. I can't really remember that part of Abuja, where that bombing happened. During the time of Goodluck Jonathan as president. I think that was the onset sort of the Boko Haram. Then it was a very big issue. But do you realize the reactions of people recently whenever there is death within the northeast or the northern region? People People just look at it and just carry on with their life. You don't even look at it twice. We have become used to these things. I believe that if we really see this issue as a matter of emergency, schools, administrators, public school teachers, we hear of medical staff downing their tools because one or two things are not put in place. We hear of university lecturers downing their tools because they are not receiving what they should. I think these activities should trickle down to the lowest level, primary schools. Every primary school teacher should down their tools. It will take 6 months to go into reality and say we are not going back to work until there is decisive action from policymakers, from government. Let us do this. But nobody is doing that. Even the head teacher in primary school, the children are in private schools. So she just goes there just to earn a living. She knows that everything is decaying and there's nothing she can do. So she just goes there. She just goes there and then just act as the head teacher, everyone collect her salary and then just managing to survive until she retires. Meanwhile, she's planning on how the children will go to the best private schools and then send them overseas. That is the culture. So if we are really serious, even private schools will join the public schools. Teachers, we should start seeing primary school teachers going on protests, demanding for a change in the system. It has to be something very deliberate. It's not, this thing is very serious. Nigerians are the best anywhere in the world. You can quote me. Nigerians are strong mentally. Nigerians are intelligent. Their rules go to anywhere in the world. But our educational system right now is killing people, killing minds, killing generations. And like Mr. Bosaya rightly mentioned, it's a ticking time bomb. The children you fail to educate will destroy institutions that you have built. They will destroy the institutions. Let me just stop in here so that other participants can also communicate. Thank you very much, Sansi. Thank you very much to get the opportunity to share.
Yeah, people are already asking, what's the way forward? What's the way forward? That's what everybody wants to hear. At least they have highlighted some points here, the way forward. For us to have regulations, we have most laws passed, but they are not implemented. They are not enforced. So that's the challenge we're having in this nation. Many governors, ministers, they come, they pass a bill, but no implementation. We have our roles to play. So is it the government's role to completely enforce those laws, or we as citizens we need to play our own part? I think that's what we should know. Is it left for the government alone, or left for us as citizens?
Sorry, excuse me, Samson. The first thing why government will come in is the first thing is they are the ones that does the review of constitution. We are still working with 1999 constitution, where education is on the concurrent list. And I said, putting education on concurrent list, it's very unclear, it's ambiguous. We do not understand. So the very first thing is reviewing why education should be on concurrent list. And if education will continue to be on concurrent list, the way it should be run should be clearly stated. We should understand who is manning who. That's number one. That is on government side. Number two, the regulatory body. Yes, we can help by, you see, sometimes we allow things just like Duke said. We allow things to decay before we start talking about it. Do you understand? We allow things. If there are working regulatory bodies, I can tell you, I run a school, I head a school. I can't tell you how many times regulatory bodies have come to check what you're doing. I don't know how many times they've ever gotten into government schools to check what they are doing. They are not checking anything. They are not checking anything. So it means that whatever you like, you do. That's number. Then number four, we need to give value. Number three, we need to, if a governor must be in authority, one of his children should be in a government school.
Exactly.
One of the children should be in a government school. Their children should not be all in a private school if you must be in authority in Nigeria. You need to feel a direct impact of what others are feeling. If you have children in the level of primary school, your commissioners, your ministers should be in that level. If your children are in the level of secondary school, they should be there. You should be getting the feedback. And if they're in the university, they should be there. By the time your child stays at home 2 years because of strike, we will all wake up to that. Another thing is, every one of us should start the campaign. In our Facebook, in our Instagram, it's for all of us. Let's start. It's somebody that started the campaign of George Floyd. If not, the killing of the young man would have just gone like the killing of the others. He wasn't the first to be killed like that. He wasn't the first to say, I can't breathe. So we need to start it. In our Facebook, let's just like Busayo said, let's talk about it. What is happening to our to our public institution? How do we help them? How many of us has posted or talked about why the children are not learning? Why do you think some states are saying enrichment program, some other states are saying do this? It's because they know they don't have the facility for these children to learn. What does it cost to buy tablets for all the children? The changing of cars that we change for the house members and everything. That budget go for buying a car. Can that budget go for buying them to learn? Why are we not doing it? It's a project for every self. What do I talk about it? How do I go about it? With me, that is why when Tabernacle of David decided to build that school, I was among the particularly well, what happens when you are donating something to the less privileged? The very first contractor they brought there brought nonsense furniture. I had to ask the contractor to come and pack your furniture. Exactly what we are saying. In our own little space, in our own little corner, Instagram pages, in Facebook pages, let's start it. Who is in charge of education? Who is controlling who? If a minister will say, start online school and do top 10, state government will follow. Let's get it clear. So that is the part of the government, and part of our own aids that outage every day. Thank you. Busayo.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, thank you very quickly. I could say, and I am on this discussion, man. I thought I was the one that was going off. You know, right. So talking about solutions, I think the person that asked the questions about solutions just joined the discussion. You know, because when we spoke about paradigm shift and we spoke about the challenges and spoke about possible solutions. For me, I see development from the bottom to the bottom top perspective, right? And on this bottom top perspective, we have, for example, right? We have the people at the bottom. It doesn't sound too good, but let's use that. We have the people at the bottom, you know, people in the communities, people who need these services. Now, from that bottom to the top, let's keep the duty bearers at the top, right? And just like what Madam Juliet said, we can also invert this to do the top to bottom approach. Now, whatsoever position we choose. Now, I know that some people have the capacity to engage policymakers at the highest level, whilst other people have the capacity to engage with everyday citizens, you know, at that level, citizens level, in terms of citizens engagement and mobilization. Now, I think everybody should just look at that value chain and see who you can easily influence. If you have the voice that you can, some of us are hitting hard at the government level, the duty bearers, holding them to account, ensuring that we request the kind of service we want to see from them. I do that work. You can check out followthemoneyng.org. We track government funds. You can also join us in doing that. We advocate for education. I think we're one of the biggest advocates for basic education in the country currently, right? So no matter where you, from the top to the bottom top, I think everybody must do something so that we'll probably meet at the middle. At the middle is where we can garner that strength and ensure that the system works. Now, the second thing I'm going to speak to is the demand side and the supply side of basic education, the demand side and the supply side. Now, it's basic economics, right? Demand and supply, you know, it brings equilibrium in the system. Now, on demand side must be the citizens. And that's what Ojo spoke about,
And something that the government has a role to play. We as citizens also in our own sphere, in our own little sphere, we have our own roles to play. So we meet at the center because we can't depend on the government. The government may not give us everything. So continuity is a major problem in our country today, in our system. When somebody starts something big, when he's no longer in power, he shifts to another party, they have their own agenda. So education is supposed to be continuous so that we can hold them accountable, especially in the enforcement of laws and policies. I agree with you, Ma, on saying every public office holder, their children should be in our state school or our federal schools. I'm in support of that because if your children are abroad, they are studying, and ASU is on strike, your child is studying somewhere, you won't have that drive to say, oh, let me talk to the ASU body, or let me talk to the different bodies that are on strike. So if your child is at home, you are seeing your child and you're a public office holder, you're supposed to show example first. So I agree with you on that for public office holders, either you're from state level to federal level, even local government level too. Your children must attend government schools. With that, attention will be brought to those schools. So that's a good move. So one thing again I know is affecting our schools today is the curriculum. The curriculum today, you hear some schools are doing Montessori, some are doing British. We don't even know which curriculum we are running again in Nigeria. So that one is a major issue in our country today, our curriculum. So, but every day when I see children on the streets, they don't go to school. I was at the mechanic some days back. I saw lots of children at mechanic workshop. They were working there. I said, wow. They said children, they are like wet cement. Whatever falls on them makes an impression. So whatever they see every day, the environment influences them. So if we don't put a good system, it puts a law that children must have this right to education, I think we'll keep dragging it like this. So in our own little sphere, I think we should play our own role in enforcing a paradigm shift in our education system.
I want to just say something. It's regarding what Madam has said. This issue of putting education in the concurrent list, I think individually we should actually go and try and do some little research on what that actually means. I think the meaning of that is not giving education the necessary priority that it requires. It also means paying a lip service to the action of education. And I think what will change this is a very, very fundamental thing, and it has to do with the Constitution, legally now. If this is not controlled at the Constitution level, policies will not even handle it. Like you said, if it is a constitutional matter, then the issue of UBEC and the rest of them, education as a right of a child, then that can be fought to the letter. Every parent can demand for education. But since it is not like we call it as a fundamental human right, at the same time, you cannot compare that being a fundamental human right compared to life, right to life, right to live and every other thing. So I think if we take education and bring it to that level where we see it as a fundamental human right, legally enshrined in our Constitution, taking it away from the concurrent list of sharing responsibility between federal and state and local government and making it a national priority, I think until then we cannot have a really good solution. Secondly, I still emphasize on this fact that we must be so mad at the situation that we all go out, maybe not on the streets, but the same way federal institutions, state universities are putting down their tools and say we are not working until this is done. Primary school teachers, private, public, should also start doing the same, so that the government will really know that not that we are blind to what is happening, we are actually very tired and we want a change. Thank you very much.